Next, let us put the boom into the tail. It should just slide right in. If it doesn't, just loosen up this bolt and this bolt here. Because remember, we haven't Loctited these yet. We kept those purposely out. Do a little bit of finagle in here. Now, one of the issues with this kit is there's no real way to see if your boom is perfectly vertical. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put on the vertical stabilizer and look down the helicopter and make sure it lines up with your main frames. Make sure it's nice and straight and vertical with your main frames. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on now. Once you've got your vertical stabilizer on and you've lined it up, you've eyeballed down the entire helicopter to make sure it's nice and vertical with your main frames, then you can tighten the two bolts on the side. Remember to put Loctite on them before you put them in. You don't want this backing out. We're actually going to pin the boom using a bolt coming in from the top, and I'll show how to do that in a second after we get this bolted on. So it won't back out, but you still want it nice and vertical. Also, the torque tube should be pushing, it should be coming up right into your tail drive gear. And you don't want a lot of play, if hardly any, in between these two gears. It really should fit up in there nice and snug, but you don't want to go too far because you don't actually want it to rub against the shaft of this banana gear either. So it's pretty easy to tell just looking down in there if they're lined up properly. It's not rocket science. I mean, if they're lined up, it should be good to go. Alright, our tail is on. Now you can go ahead and put the boom supports on and clamp the boom supports down onto the skids down here at the bottom. I'm not going to do that yet. I'm going to actually put on a different set of boom supports, not the ones that came with the kit. I'm actually putting on a set of boom supports from a T-Rex 550. They're just lighter, they look better, I think, and they'll hold it just as well as the stock ones. So that's the ones I'm going to use. So I'm going to hold off, they're not here yet. I did get the Micro Beast, so we can be going over electronics after we get the head set up. We'll go ahead and now I'm going to show you how to pin the boom. And what I'm going to use is, I found a nice small bolt. And this bolt is just long enough to go through this hole and down into the boom about 3 millimeters. You can find these at pretty much any local hobby shop or hardware store even. And it's nice because it's actually got the chamfered or beveled head on it, so it will fit nice and flush just like the stock one here does. And what you do is, when you screw it in, the boom is actually aluminum. And aluminum's very soft. So what you do is you screw it in a little bit at a time, back it out. Once it's backed out a little bit, screw it back in a little more. And you can feel it just start pushing its way into the boom. So every time you put it in a little bit, get it a little tighter than it was before, and then back it out. You don't have to back out all the way. I'm just going to back out all the way here to double check, look down inside the hole, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And yep, it is going right into the boom. So that's the nice thing about this nice soft aluminum, is it makes it really easy to pin the boom on here. And you want to make sure your screw isn't too long, that it goes down into your drive shaft. Or I'm sorry, your torque tube. And so you just keep doing this over and over. Each time I get down a little further into it, and it feels like, yep, right there I broke free, and I'm now down into the boom. So now that boom is set. It's not going to go anywhere. And I'm going to back this bolt out one last time now. I'm going to put Loctite on there to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. Now if you were to look down into the hole, you would see that the screw itself actually tapped its own way into the boom. We didn't have to drill a hole or anything like that. The screw automatically did it for us. So just like I showed you, just go a little bit at a time. When you feel it start to cut into the boom, back out, give it some breathing room, and then screw back in a little further every time. And eventually it'll just find its own way down into that soft metal on there. See, now I can tighten this up all I want. I can still spin my tail, it's not getting into the torque tube, and it's nice and flush on the top. And now my boom is nice and pinned. That's not going to back out at all because the bolt is actually down into the boom. So there you have it. That's how you pin your boom. You just got to find the right size screw, make sure it only goes down about 2 or 3 millimeters into the boom. You don't want it going down into your torque tube, because then, well, you won't have a tail that'll spin.